Hello, welcome to another episode of... God, I did that last time. But I haven't decided it's not even worth explaining. You'll understand. If you don't already understand, you will understand tomorrow, I think. Anyway, what's up? Today we're talking about Dynamax. Dynamax, which I thought was called Gigamax. Like, I actually thought it was called Gigamax, but it's actually called Dynamax, so I was very confused. Anyway, Dynamax has been the topic of, like, a lot of discussion about the new Pokemon games, Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Nintendo GameCube. And I'm really interested in it. I think a lot of us VGC players, a lot of us competitive Pokemon players in general, not just VGC, this is the thing that we're the most apprehensive about. That I personally am the most apprehensive about. And yeah, like this is kind of, from a competitive standpoint, this has the most potential to make or break how fun this game is to play in a competitive fashion. So I think everyone's kind of waiting with bated breath to see what ends up happening with this. So today we're going to talk about the Dynamax phenomenon, which, as you can see, makes Pokemon become huge, or as my father would say, huge. But yeah, so basically, what is this thing? As you can see, let me do a little demonstration. You see this person here? Can you see my mouse? I hope you can see my mouse. There's a person here and a person here. They're tiny. They're petite. They're so small because the Pokemon are giant. And basically, what happens is these Pokemon, the Pokemon that you Dynamax, become very large. In case you couldn't tell or didn't already know. Why does this matter? Well, the size itself, I don't know if it matters that much. But the reason it matters is because there's a lot of other changes that go along with this transformation. So it says, this is the official website, it says that the stats change somewhere. They get a boost in power as well. Yes. So basically the stats change. From the demo and from everything that I've read, it seems as if the HP is the only stat that changes. So that already is a good thing. So what I'm arguing here is that this mechanic could be absolutely broken, and could be really centralizing, and I think that nobody wants that, right? Because, okay, so there's a couple things about Dynamax. Dynamax, you can Dynamax any Pokemon. It doesn't have to be like the Mega Stone, where you can only do it, well, you can only do it once per battle was the good thing, but the Mega Pokemon was a subset of prearranged Pokemon. Everyone knew what those Pokemon were, and you had to be holding an item in order to do it. Dynamax looks like it doesn't require an item, and any Pokemon can Dynamax. So, if any of your Pokemon could Dynamax, it feels like it could be a lot of volatility if it's too powerful. If that makes sense. Because you have to cover for all 4 of your opponent's Pokemon, or all 6 of them, potentially Dynamaxing on any turn. That sounds really scary. So, yeah, don't wanna mess with that. So yeah, people are worried that it's gonna be too strong, and that's kind of what we're looking at here today. So it gets an HP boost. Like I was saying, it doesn't boost the other stats. As far as we can tell, fingers crossed that that's actually the case, but it seems like that's the case. That for starters is good. If it were to give it overall like a choice boost in every stat, that would be really bad because I think for obvious reasons actually why that would be bad. Just an HP boost feels a little bit more manageable. It's basically like using an item, right? Like we're already used in competitive play to dealing with recovery items. For example, leftovers is probably the most well-known one, but in VGC the Thwam berries, Figgy, Ayapapa, Guava, whatever, Wiki, Aguav, Mago, like those berries, we're already used to seeing recovery items. So for example, a 50% increase in HP, while worth doing once per battle, doesn't feel, from an initial, having not played with it, doesn't feel like it's potentially game breaking. And so if it's just HP, that's fine in my opinion. The other thing that's really important to note about Dynamax moves is that it only lasts, or Dynamax Pokemon, is that the transformation only lasts for 3 turns, which, let's talk about that. So, that's I think the saving grace, of potentially this mechanic is that it only lasts for 3 turns. The reason that's important is because if it's a transformation for the rest of the game, it feels like it could be very easy to kind of just snowball and run away with a lead. However, if it only lasts for 3 turns, 3 turns is definitely able to be mitigated via good defensive play. So that seems kind of like the thing that might keep this in check. This mechanic in check. So yeah, seems like it just raises the HP stat. It only lasts 3 turns. So that's what we know so far in this video that we've talked about. Sorry, I don't know if that was me. After that, it returns to normal, and it seems like it's just a percentage increase. So, for example, if your Pokemon is 60% HP when Dynamaxing, it will return to, and let's say it doesn't take any damage. It will still, the raw number will increase, but the percentage will stay the same. So if you have 10% HP in your Dynamax form, you'll still have 10% HP when you return to normal. So you won't undynamax and be KO'd. It's a key item, not really important to competitive play. Max moves. So I made a video on max moves. I don't know if it went up yesterday or if I'm going to post it tomorrow. But they're really interesting. These things, this is the HP boost feels manageable. Max moves feels scary. I am fearful of what max moves can do to the game. The max moves are very, very, very strong. They can trigger weather, they can trigger terrain, or they can mess with the stats. They can boost the user stats, or they can lower the opponent's stats. There's a lot of potential there. There are a lot of combinations that become very potent when you have these kind of effects. Pokemon being able to boost their own speed stat, Pokemon being able to raise their offensive stats, that's really scary because when you consider there's already an HP boost, being able to suddenly, you know, let's say since you can do it when attacking, because it's unlike Z moves, like if you were to run like, there's not that many good examples, but let's say Z Swords Dance, even though that doesn't do anything good, like you wouldn't be able to take a KO and raise your attack in the same turn, right? Now, if you have a low HP opponent Pokemon, or if you just have a Pokemon in range, via a max move, for example, the max version of the fighting type attacks raises your attack stat when you use it. So you can take a KO and raise your attack stat. That's really scary, and especially when you consider that you're already working with a 50% HP, most likely in the HP stat. Being able to raise your offensive stats frankly feels terrifying. I'm not going to lie about that. And that's only talking about the boosting of your offensive stats. There is also Pokemon like, let's say Wailord. Let's say you can run Specs Wailord and boost your speed stat and have Specs Water Spout. Although I guess with Specs it doesn't really work because, never mind, you can't do that. But maybe you know what I'm saying? Like maybe there's a Pokemon that raises your speed stat. It could still run a choice item. I believe it's the flying type attack that raises your speed stat. So, choice band Staraptor in singles, Dynamax up, Dynamax Brave Bird, and now you've got choice band +1 speed Staraptor, and the boosts most likely stay when you're done maxing. So, it's scary. Terrain is really scary. You could do really scary things with terrain and weather. I'm lumping those into the same category. I go more in depth in it in my other video. Yeah, and then there's also the possibility of offensive moves. For example, the Dark Max move lowers the target's special defense stat. So you could have a fast Pokemon with a Dark attack, Dark Pulse, Snarl, anything, lower, kind of like the old Fake Tears and strong special attack strategy, like Fake Tears and Mega Gengar Whimsicott strategy with Fake Tears and a powerful move. Most Pokemon could do that now, as long as they have a Dark move, or any Pokemon with any Pokemon faster than its partner with a Dark move can now do that, in addition to the other benefits. So there's a lot of really scary combinations with these moves, and I think I could actually talk for an hour only on combinations with max moves that based on what's in the decks, with like what I think could be strong. And I think I wouldn't even need to reach that much because there's a lot of potential there. I won't get too much into weather and terrain. I talk about that a lot in the other video. But yeah, so max moves are scary. HP boost feels balanced. 3-turn limit feels good. The very last thing is that these Pokemon apparently cannot be flinched, which overall I think is probably a good thing. Like, Fake Out would just become even more essential than it already is, and this does seem like a kind of a step back. They seem to be pushing back against Fake Out. I feel like Psychic Terrain, they added Dazzling, they added Queenly Majesty, so maybe they're pushing back against Fake Out some more here. But it does feel like it would be a little bit easy to stall out. Like, you Fake Out for one of the turns, you Protect for one of the turns, and that's like, you know, they have one turn to use their special mechanics, so I kind of get that. What I hope is that number one, these attacks don't go through Protect. I didn't like that about Z moves. I know some people liked it, some people didn't. I personally did not like it. I think Protect is obviously going to be even more of a big deal now than it was before. Oh, the other thing is that these Pokemon can still hold items. I kind of mentioned it briefly earlier with Wailord, but the Pokemon still being able to hold items is pretty scary. So yeah, like basically, there's these things have a lot of potential. They're kind of a mix of megas and Z moves. It's a stat boost similar to megas, but doesn't feel as powerful. The abilities don't appear to change, and similar to Z moves, all your moves, like, they change from their original move into something different, something stronger. But I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe the power stays maybe the same or relatively close to the original move, and it just gets a different secondary effect. One of the other weaknesses of it are that it only lasts for 3 turns, and the strength/weakness, probably weakness, is that all status moves become max protect, max guard, whatever it's called. So you can't do things like Tailwind with your Dynamax Pokemon. You can't do things like Trick Room or Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp. So that is something you have to keep in mind, and it could lead to certain like moves being. It creates a lot of redundancy for the Pokemon. I didn't talk about it in the other video, but another thing is moves like Icy Wind, which you use primarily for their ability to drop the opponent's speed stat. Now you can't do that anymore. If you Dynamax Cresselia or Tapu Fini with Icy Wind, like, you can't use Icy Wind for that ability anymore. And I guess the other thing about it is that it seems threatening to Pokemon that have primary goals, teams that have primary goals. For example, if you have a Sand team and you Dynamax your Gastrodon so that it will survive, and you now have, if you go for Scald, you'll set the Rain, and that could actually be pretty bad. And if you can't go for Recover. So obviously certain Pokemon are going to make better use of this than others, and certain teams are probably going to have to be very cautious of when they Dynamax and stuff like that. So all in all, I feel fear in my heart. I am afraid. But I think that it has the potential to not be so centralizing that it makes the game not fun to play. Again, it's too soon to tell. We're gonna have to learn more before we can say for certain. But I'm hopeful. It seems cool. It seems like they've learned from the lessons of Megas and Z moves. It seems like they're trying to balance the game. It seems like they have very intentionally built in both strengths and weaknesses that are very apparent to the mechanic. So we're going to have to see, but I'm hopeful. I'm at least hopeful. I think that's all I want to say. I probably forgot some stuff. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. Daily content I'm really enjoying, but it is hard for me. Like, just because I do stuff outside of being a YouTuber as well. So obviously, I hope that was apparent. But yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think this mechanic is, like, very good? Do you think it's, like, mediocre? Are you scared? Are you excited? What do you think about it? And which Pokemon do you think are going to benefit the most from it? Let me know in the description down below. In the comments down below. Whatever. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another upload. Peace.